Good morning. This morning, I want to talk about the only important idea I've ever had. So, I've been working with people for the past 5 years, all sorts of really brilliant people doing theoretical biology. And all this whole time, I've been trying to articulate an insight that I developed that's really the only important insight I've ever had in my whole life that I think can contribute to scientific knowledge. And the insight is this, that organisms can't possibly be optimizing anything. So the question is, where does learning come from? Does it come from natural selection? Is it something that evolved over time, which is what virtually everyone in the world assumes? Or did it come from something else, some other process that hasn't been discovered yet, that's universal to all organisms, which is what I believe. So where does learning come from? If you think about a single cell that's developing into a multicellular organism, so like ourselves, we begin with one cell, a zygote, that then divides and becomes a blastocyst and further develops and turns into a kind of tube, and then it develops a spinal cord and then starts to see a head and tail and arms and legs eventually. All that is called differentiation. It's how cells pursue different fates and they turn into different tissues, right? So some of them turn into skin, some of them turn into bones and blood and heart, muscles, neurons, all sorts of different cells in our bodies. And as they do so, they don't have any access to natural selection. This point is really, really, really obvious, but it's profound and it's been forgotten. So all the decisions that a cell makes in how to develop, it makes without the use of anything from natural selection because they all have the same inherited genes. They all have the same DNA. They all began from the same exact cell. So if there's anything else in the cell that leads to anything heritable, it's the same because they have a single point of origin. So all those decisions that the cell makes to what to become and how to behave, it makes those decisions according to a different process. And so that proves that there's absolutely no way that the goal of survival and reproduction or optimization for the organism's survival can be the only goal or can even be a goal. It's not even a goal at the organism level. It's only a goal at the level of heritable material like genes. So the genes have individually whatever heritable material is there, it has the goal of survival and reproduction at that level, at the level of the molecule. But at the level of the cell, it has to be pursuing a different goal. And of course, at the level of the organism, it has to be pursuing a different goal. And that goal can only be explanatory, that life is an explanatory process. The goal of an organism is to try and understand the world. That's not optimization. That's not searching for a good solution. That's searching for an explanation, which is very, very different. And so that means in all life, there has to be a physical process, totally unconnected to natural selection, that is pursuing an explanation of the world. So that's what I've been searching for the past 5 years. And that's what we all should be searching for. All biologists should be searching for that process, because when we discover it, we'll have unprecedented control and understanding over what life is and how it develops. And we'll be able to prevent all these diseases of mismatched cells like cancer and autoimmunity and diabetes and obesity and even aging itself, even senescence. We'll be able to understand and grapple with that disease because we'll understand that the process that's producing cells. and producing mismatches between cells. So cancer is a self that is rebelling against the body that it's supposed to be a part of. And there's no way to grapple with that problem until we understand this process, this physical process. So now I've reached a point where I've reached the provisional hypothesis that it's basically a species of harmonic resonance. It's not just simple harmonic resonance, because all non-living material does that, right? It does. When you blow a trumpet, the trumpet doesn't remember the notes that you played before. So, so it has to be some sort of process that's enfolded upon itself, so that when the system resonates, it retains some impression of the resonant pattern when the next pattern emerges and overwrites it. It doesn't completely erase it, and that's called a memory. And that's what forms an explanation out of a living organism. So I've tried to articulate this in a billion different ways, but I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to make it clear what my insight is, what my intellectual contribution to this world really is. And hopefully one day it'll be widespread. And I believe that soon we will solve this problem, but we're not going to solve it until people grapple with this problem and understand this insight that organisms are explanatory processes, not optimization processes. And learning is a process of explanation. And it requires a different physics. It requires the physics of life as opposed to the physics of non-life. And it's natural selection is irrelevant. That's why we can build a talking octopus, because it doesn't, the evolutionary history of a process doesn't matter if it embodies this form of resonance or whatever the mechanism is of epistolution. It will be a learner, and we'll be able to build learning machines that actually understand the world, explain the world, not that just optimize for some presupposed solution. Thank you.